Keeping your money safe in the bank is one of the worst things that you can do to grow wealth. In my 10 years as an accountant and now working with my clients on their money management, the number one thing I see from people, which really shocked me and I didn't expect, is that they hold so much money in their savings accounts and they don't know what to do with their money. It can be so nice to see that balance going up and up and up, and it can feel really safe and satisfying, but you are losing so much money, and I'll explain why in this video. According to the 2022 FCA Financial Lives survey, 42% of UK adults had savings of over £10,000. However, a significant portion of these savers preferred to keep their money in cash. Only 8% of them held all their assets in cash, whilst 20% kept at least 75% of their wealth in cash. All these people are not aware that they're losing hundreds and thousands of pounds, dollars, euros over the long term. And this is something that I help my clients with a lot. So if you do want a consultation, have a look in the description below. So in this video, I want to share with you why keeping your money safe in the bank is one of the worst ways to grow wealth, but also what you should do instead. Okay, first of all, money makes money. Cash in your bank doesn't make money and it's not working for you. That was a mouthful. Because of inflation, 10K now will not be 10K in a few years. Let me explain. 10K now will buy you, let's say, a specific secondhand car. But in the future, 10K will not buy you that car anymore. That car might be 15K. Essentially, 10K in 10 years buys much less than it does now. You want your cash working for you so that it's growing with inflation, if not faster. Let's look at an example using a compound interest calculator if you invest this money instead. And if this money is working for you, how it would work. So if we look at putting $20,000 in this case, how much would this be in 20 years? In 20 years, it will still be worth $20,000. If that interest rate is in the savings account at 3%, that will be worth $36,000. If we invest that amount, if we assume an 8% interest rate, it will be worth $93,000. So if you put that money in a normal savings account at 3%, you will have 36K in 20 years. But if you invest it, you will have at least 93K. So you've made about 60K extra just by putting that money in investments. The more money we're talking about, the longer the time period, the more investing is going to compound and the more you're going to make. As an example, if you have 100,000 in 30 years saved, that will be 100,000. Or let's say a little bit more, obviously, if we save it in a savings account that has a few percent interest. But if we invest that money instead over 30 years, we will have 1 million. So 100K now in 30 years is 1 million, even if we add nothing to it. So you can be a millionaire by investing, but if that 100K stays in the savings account, you will always just have 100K. Or if you have it in a savings account, around 200 to 250K. But if you invest it, you will be a millionaire. So let's talk about how much money you should actually have in your account. This is called your emergency fund. I've talked a lot about it on this channel, but your emergency fund should be 3 to 6 months of your essential expenses. This is just for a roof over your head and food. So rent, basic bills and groceries. How much would you need to sustain yourself for 3 to 6 months? If you're self-employed, you're a freelancer, autonomo, then I always recommend up to 9 months. No more than this. I know so many people that have over 50K in their account and their 3 to 6 months of expenses is around 10 to 15K. So they have 35,000 just sat in their account for no reason. So you do not need any more than the emergency fund. This money needs to be accessible and it needs to be high interest savings account. So we are aiming for 4 to 5% if possible. There's actually a few reasons why holding too much money is bad. If you have more money in your bank account, you're more likely to spend more. So money psychology says this. If you see 50 grand sat in your account, you make more irrational decisions with money and more YOLO decisions. Number 2, you're actually not protected over, I think it's like 85,000 in the UK and 200,000 in the US. That money's not protective if the bank goes bust or something happens. So that might not be the case for most people, but if you are holding really high amounts of cash, then it's not protected. And number 3, if you hold a big balance in your account, you might be targeted by scammers and no one wants to deal with that. I know what most of you are now thinking, but Alice, I want to buy a house. What about if I want to buy a house? Should I invest that money or should I have it saved? I always say, if you want to buy a house in the next 3 to 5 years, you should have that in cash. But If it's looking like a longer term, then you should invest it. I have a personal example of this. I am so happy that I invested because with the compound interest and all the money that I made on those shares, I was actually able to buy a house. It's a rental property that I Airbnb, so now it's a revenue generating asset for me. I still rent where I live, and I'll come on to that in a minute. I make a whole video about this if you want to check it out. If I had just saved my money, I wouldn't have been able to afford to buy this apartment. I love investing for that reason. You can invest and then you can use that money to buy a place later on. The reason I say if you want to buy a place in the next 3 to 5 years, you shouldn't invest it is because we never know what's going to happen with the market. Over the long term, it will grow, but over the short term, it could dip, and then you would be forced to sell at a loss, which defeats the whole point of investing anyway. So if you want to buy a house in the next few years, keep it in cash. One thing I want to say about this is too many people feel like they are rushed to buy a house. It's a cultural pressure, but buying a house locks up capital. There's a massive opportunity cost. And when you're young, it kills flexibility. If you're not sure that you want to stay in that place forever that you're currently living in, do not buy a house for so many reasons. I go into this on my video, so I will link this below, or I'll link it on screen here. I have a rent versus buy calculator, so you can look at your area and if it makes mathematical sense for you to rent or buy, because it's not as simple as just the monthly rental versus the monthly mortgage cost. It's way more complicated than that. So if you want to know for your specific situation, check out the calculator and watch my video here. Run the numbers before you commit. So we've gone through the emergency fund. We've talked about a house purchase, which is the most commonly asked question. Now let's talk about what do we do with the money then? If we're not keeping it in a savings account, what do we do? We want to invest in the least risky way possible. And how we do that is through index funds, ETFs, which are low cost index funds. This is essentially where you're putting your money into loads of different companies at once. You're diversifying across thousands of companies, so your risk is really low over the long term. Low fees, passive, and it's simple. It's really easy to do. I've made loads of videos on this, how to get started investing, so check those out. But as I showed you earlier, 100K now could be $1 million in 30 years. Just by not even adding to it. If you add to it, then you will be a multi-millionaire. And this is something I help my clients with so much, how to take their money from their bank account and actually invest it. Now they're going to retire with millions rather than just feeling comfortable with tens of thousands in the bank. So in summary, 1, you want to take your emergency fund, you want to calculate it. So take your essential expenses, your rent, your mortgage payment, your grocery costs, and your basic bills. Times that by 3 or times that by 6 or by 9, depending on your situation. That's how much you should have in cash. The rest of it, you want to invest. Number 2, think about your short-term goals in the next 3 to 5 years. If this is a wedding, if this is a house purchase, keep that in cash. The rest should be absolutely invested in index funds. I usually like to do 90% index fund, 10% individual stocks, but if you're not really into investing, you don't know much about it, you want to keep it as simple as possible, put it in the S&P 500. You could even put it in an all-world index, so that diversifies across the whole world, not just one region. So it's multiple countries and multiple industries. And number 3, subscribe to my channel. You will learn a lot about investing, how to manage your money, money psychology, and how to really grow wealth. I would love to know in the comments below, what is stopping you from putting your money elsewhere? Why do you feel like you need to have this big balance in your account? If that is the case for you, let me know below, because I would really love to know the psychology behind why so many people do this. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.